We're live, brother. How the heck are you?
Welcome back to Goats in the Metaverse. I'm doing well. How are you, Stan?
I'm doing terrific. It's great to be here. Episode number 3.
3, baby. And what a week it's been to be going back deep into the Metaverse. So many things have happened. We had to cut a whole bunch just to make our time on the show.
I know. I want a longer show. Let's get us a longer show.
I'll speak to the producer. Let's see what we can do. So what's been happening in your world? I know you've got some news.
I got some news. Episode 2 inspired me. I bought an ape.
No.
Yes, I bought an ape.
You aped in on an ape. Tell us about this ape, why you got it, what it inspired you about this particular one, and welcome to the Bored Ape Yacht Club.
I know. I'm glad to be a part of the community. I just bought it last night. It is a rare trait. First, I don't think it looks bored. That's what really inspired me. It doesn't look as bored as the rest of them. But the party horn in the mouth was the one that told me. Only 44 out of 10,000 have it, and I said I got to be part of the community. I'm telling you, it was last week. I was like 50-50 on it, and then we were talking about it. I'm like, I'm gonna do it. It was a great price, and I believe in the community, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
So you're clearly now a long-term Bored Ape believer.
I am. I hope by next time we speak, I'll be like, I got 5 of them by now.
Let's get you there.
Yes, sir.
What else has been happening?
Oh, Zed Run. Zed Run was supposed to have their drop.
Yeah.
Which was
I hear it didn't go so well.
No, shit show. Links didn't work. Zed Run came out, said they had to cancel the drop. And it doesn't look like we have a date yet for the next drop. But they are giving away $1 million worth of horses.
$1 million?
$1 million. Which I think is, a good way to try to win back the community. But I do know that the community is not really happy about the drop going bad, especially since this is, I believe, their 5th drop now, and they had enough time to prepare. This is not the first drop they ever done, and a lot of backlash in the community.
I think it goes to show just how difficult these drops are. I know Top Shot had a number of challenges with their drops, and drops as a service could be a new business, but this is new technology. It's new markets. It's new systems. This is tough stuff. So I have some sympathy for the team behind Zed, but obviously at this level, this stage, this kind of money that people are investing, people get upset when things don't go right, and it makes sense that they came back with a new kind of bigger offer, trying to get more members in the community to appease them and make them happy. From what I understand as well, it goes to a broader distribution. People who have smaller stables are now able to buy in to this next drop. So they're trying to increase the engagement and increase the reach of the community, as opposed to big OGs just being able to collect and buy more horses.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And they're giving away 6,000 horses, which I think is a big number. But at the same side, some of the owners that don't have as many horses are kind of shit out of luck, because it looks like they're only going to be giving way to members of the community that either have no horses or only 1 horse in their stable. So at the same time, I think there's a little backlash from there. But they did score the big win with the big partnership with Stella Toss, which is, owned by
AB InBev.
Yeah, $53 billion company.
This is not a mom and pop shop that is sponsoring the future of esports. Zed Run, AB InBev, one of the world's largest, if not the largest brewery in the world, $53 billion company, has come out with a promotion to sponsor Zed. You can buy some of their drops today. Over the next 5 days, they're minting 10 new horses that have a Stella Artois skin on it. Those are going to be some Z1s to Z10s, and those are on OpenSea right now. So if you're not in the community and you can't participate in the next drop, this could be your way to acquiring a horse. But incredible to see a company of this size sponsoring Zed I think that says a lot about the industry, and it says a lot about NFTs and the future.
Yeah, and one quick thing I'll say, I was just on the golf course before this, and a buddy of mine was like, "Oh, I heard Digital Horses and Stella have a partnership," and that's where kind of your everyday average Joe is gonna find out about NFTs and are talking about Digital Horses, which I love to see as an owner.
Amazing. What else has happened this week?
Fox, baby, $100 million fund. They just announced it, yesterday? That's pretty exciting.
$100 million fund. I think I read that they're taking one of their assets, Rick and Morty, and they're going to be bringing NFTs into that show. So we're seeing a global news network and a global TV and entertainment network now starting to say we're actually going to introduce NFTs into the shows that we create, which I think is the future. I think that's what's going to happen across all of these mediums. And it's interesting to see Fox taking that leap, and they seeded that $100 million themselves.
Yeah. I mean, product placement to the next level, right? They're literally going to change the game of how these things work. And kudos to them for stepping up to the plate and putting their money where their mouth is and betting big on NFTs.
Let's see what comes out next from them. Other things are happening. This week, we heard from our friends at Sotheby's again. They concluded their natively digital auction that we spoke about last week. That punk sold for $12 million. This week, they came up with what I think is a pretty iconic NFT asset. Tim Berners-Lee, the creator of the World Wide Web, has turned his source code for that innovation into an NFT and will be auctioning it off with Sotheby's. Their hashtag, "This changed everything," is not wrong. This did change the way we interact with the world, and it'll be interesting to see what does an NFT like this sell for, and this type of cultural asset, what can it fetch in the market? And I'm loving seeing how these different permutations of history have been turned into NFTs. Well done to Sotheby's. I think this is a pretty interesting NFT to bring into the market.
Yeah, and look, I think the other side of it is like nobody would ever thought that he has this code, right? How can he monetize on this, right? How can he take that moment of history and turn it into something iconic? And here's a perfect example of doing so by turning it into an NFT and probably getting a pretty penny for it as well.
And entrenching that moment forever on the blockchain so that it's enshrined into the world, into history, and has a value, and digitally is there forever.
Yep, absolutely. What else we got going on? Gary V sold a robot for $132,000, which $1 million doesn't seem like a lot, but I find this interesting because it's the highest sale year to date of a Veefriend, which is Gary Vaynerchuk's project. But the interesting part about it was a Gary original, which he held back when they launched this, and he gave this out to his community. So somebody literally got it for $0 and flipped it for $132,000.
Wow.
Not a mathematician, but the ROI on that is pretty spectacular. And this is a perfect example of how to grow a community, right? Take something that is worth $132,000, give it away for free to your community. That definitely gets people behind your product and gets them fully invested into it. And I love seeing that. And I'm excited to see what else comes out of that community as well.
And incredible to see someone paying that kind of money for a Veefriend, which only came out, must be just over a month ago. So a big testimony to Gary V and his community, and big testimony to what they think is still to come out of that community. And we're seeing Veefriend's volume starting to climb up the charts, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What else we got? Who's the number one leader in NFT sales this week?
Yeah, well, speaking of climbing up the charts, Axie Infinity has held the number one spot, or taken on the number one spot, doing $22 million in sales over the last 7 days. Axie Infinity, for those of you who don't know, it's Mark Cuban backed amongst a whole bunch of others. And what they can do within Axie is it's a free-to-play to earn blockchain game. And what do we mean by play to earn? Well, in essence, you can play for free. You can build your character. It's a kind of Pokemon-like Axie is the kind of character that you build. You battle them out in the Axie world, and you can earn virtual currency, which is called Smooth Love Potion. And that Smooth Love Potion can be converted into real cryptocurrency. So you have a game that you can play for free, and you can earn real money doing this. The game also allows you to lend out your Axie. Some people have many of them, and you can't play with all of them at the same time. So you can lend them out in what's called a scholarship. Other people can play with them, earn an income on it, and you share in the proceeds of that. So the demand for scholarship has skyrocketed. We have seen people literally change their lives playing games, earning money, and being able to build out their career, so much so that we're starting to see gamers bringing CVs to the table for new future of work industries, showing their traits, showing their skills, showing their experience, so that people will allow them to onboard with scholarships. So when we say the metaverse is the place where you're going to live, work, and play, we're seeing work and play playing out before our eyes within Axie Infinity, and the community is growing strong, and we're seeing a tremendous amount of trading happening in the Axie world. They actually just announced that they closed a $4 million round today. So great stuff for Axie, and I think we're going to see a lot more of this free-to-play to earn blockchain gaming coming into the metaverse in the weeks and months and years to come.
Is this even the real world? Where are we living right now? We're bringing the TV. I love it. I absolutely love it. And you know, I'm sure most of the people in the world are looking at this and saying, "What the heck?" But in a few years, it's going to continue to catch on, and it's interesting to see a lot of people that are going to have a lot of fun with this. Also, Loupe raises $12 million in a Series A, which I think is interesting in the sports car community. That is a big number. One of their big investors is Nat Turner, who's one of the head investors in PSA. And here's another, sports card startup that is raising big money. What's interesting about them is they're doing the live stream model, where they're actually going to be live streaming off cards for sale, and people could go ahead and bid on them live. And I think that just kind of grows the two things together: the power of live streaming, the power of sports cards, and kind of that instant gratification that is adored in that community. I'm not 100% familiar with this platform. I'm actually interested in diving in myself a little bit deeper, but I love seeing that there's money behind it, there's believers, and that community continuing to thrive.
Amazing to see. I'm not active in that type of community, so I want to learn a hell of a lot more, and I look forward to us bringing collectors, live streaming some of those collections and bringing them onto the show.
Yeah. So what else we got? We got some new projects to launch this week.
There were 2 new projects that launched this week in the NFT world, kind of copying the Bored Ape Yacht Club model of animals with unique traits. The first was gutter cats, 3,000 cats, a low number, which makes them pretty rare. Some commentary on it being a replica of Bored Apes, and some negative feedback on that side. And then Super Yetis launched their drop this week as well. 10,000 Yetis came out. You didn't know what you were getting until the drop. There's also been some negative feedback on the quality of the Yetis and how that rendering works, just showing that, to really win a community now, you can't just drop whatever you want, put something in the place and think it's going to take off. The bar is being raised with every single one of these drops. We have seen the gutter cat prices shoot up and then come back down. Yeti starting to build themselves in the market as well. So it'll be interesting to see how these play out, and we'll cover them on the show in the weeks to come as well. Maybe we'll get a cat, maybe we'll get a Yeti, offer them to some of our viewers. Let's see what we do there. So that's what happened in the past week. Crazy to think about the amount of things happening in NFT land every single week. That's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. And one last thing, I think, like we keep talking about community, right? How's the community responding? And we're seeing pushback, right? We're not seeing every project just get accepted for what it is. The community is really, really kind of guiding the way these things play out. And if you put out the right projects, those are the ones that are being successful. And the ones that are kind of half-assed, we see instant pushback, which is very, very interesting. and also good to see for the future of NFTs.
Yeah, as any industry matures, expectations get stronger and bigger, and that's only a good thing for the industry, for the communities that are collecting, for communities that are investing. We should see stronger and more mature products coming onto the scene, and a more sophisticated audience saying, this is what we need in order to get excited about your drop, about your launch, and about the community you're trying to build.
Cool.
Speaking of active and engaged communities, I think we want to go deep into the world of Zed. It's a community that is growing rapidly. We've covered it in the past 2 shows talking about it. So we brought on a active collector, an OG in the space, DrewAustin, who I've had the pleasure of meeting a couple of times, and really showed me the light in the world of Top Shot and Zed. So Drew, welcome to the show.
What's up, everybody? How's it going?
Yeah, it's going great. Drew, I know you've been a successful entrepreneur. We can talk about you exiting your company recently, so congratulations. And I know you are going full-time into the world of NFTs. You have an active experience in Top Shot, in Zed, and with what you're doing with Red Beard Ventures. But maybe for our audience, we could touch on a little bit about your background and how you got into this world of NFTs, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, sure. So background-wise, I've been a tech entrepreneur for probably the past 15 years. A lot of frontier technology type companies. So, we were one of Google Glass. I was a co-founder of a company in the Google Glass space doing wearable applications. And then after that, I really kind of learned a lot about machine learning and different types of kind of new technologies, and brought that to an industry I started out in when I was young, which was the recruiting industry. Built out an AI enterprise software platform that does recruitment process automation. Ran that for about 6 years. We sold it about 3 weeks ago to a company called PandoLogic, which was awesome. For the last 9 months or so, and especially since I'd known I was going to be selling the company, I wanted to formalize a lot of my angel investing that I've been doing for the past few years. And I get a lot of deal flow as I've been in the startup ecosystem for quite some time. And we launched a Red Beard Ventures AngelList Syndicate. So what's really cool is people can, it's kind of like, and it's a lot of my thesis in general, and obviously something you guys are talking a lot about, which is alternative asset investing. And what we're seeing is this democratization of investment opportunities. So I kind of wanted to throw myself right into the thick of it. So we started a venture syndicate about 9 months ago. We've done about 29 deals this year so far.
Wow.
We've been very active. Deployed about 10 million in capital so far. So our average check size has been about 300,000 to 400,000. It's been very successful. We're doing I'd say about 70% of our deals have been blockchain or metaverse focused. The other 30% have been, kind of frontier technologies, robotics, space, fintech, other things that are kind of we're either looking for those like 0 to 1 innovations or those like big 10x disruption opportunities. So that's been the syndicate. In terms of like the crypto space in general, I've been investing in Bitcoin and Ethereum since 2013, or at least got into the Bitcoin game in 2013. I remember first time I bought a Bitcoin, I had to meet someone in public and hand them cash and scan a barcode, and it was an interesting time. And then I've been following the space for years. I've always been really excited about the concept. The minute I heard of crypto in general, I got really excited about the concept of scarcity on the internet, like digital scarcity. I'm a collector. I collect memorabilia, action figures, sports cards, autographs, all this stuff. So I've been collecting since I was a little kid. So like the concept of being able to collect digital assets just clicked for me right away. So I got into like the NFT game around 2018, 2019. Super Rare was when I really discovered finally a marketplace that was really putting crypto art or NFT art at the forefront. Bought my first NFTs, I think early 2019 on Super Rare. And actually Super Rare happened to become the first investment that I made in Red Beard Ventures, from Red Beard Ventures in their seed round. And then we did their Series A as well. So yeah, that's been like the journey. And then got into Top Shot really early, mostly because I was reading a post from, I think it was from Union Square Ventures, and they were writing an article about sports card collectibles on the blockchain, etc. Read about it. I was like, this is exactly up my alley. Jumped in. I started to get involved in the Discord community and start to understand how people were, investing and looking at opportunities and exploring serial numbers and rookies and all of that kind of stuff. And got in early, and I started to go deeper because I found the way I've approached NFT investing is I start light and broad. And then once I get really into a community and I understand the path and start to gain conviction in the opportunity, I'll go much deeper. And NBA Top Shot was the first. I guess you could say Super Rare was the first, but NBA Top Shot was really the second kind of asset class in this NFT ecosystem that I really went deep into. And then we built up a top 50 portfolio in the space, and it's been a pretty wild ride.
What was the first NFT that you bought off Super Rare?
Oh, the first NFT off Super Rare, it was a piece of art. It might have been Max Osiris, who's been kicked off the platform 3 times since then. So he's kind of he's an interesting character in himself. I bought about 3 of his pieces early on. I don't know if it was the first one. I remember I bought 3 Max Osiris pieces. I bought Miss Al Simpson. She's fantastic. She does some really cool stuff. I bought some. It was these were the early days. I think I was spending $50 on a piece of one of one piece of art, and everyone was super excited to sell a one of one piece of art for $50.
Yeah.
And nowadays that I've had offers on some of those early Max Osiris pieces of $10,000. So it's pretty wild to see the appreciation. But this is the future of I say, I think Yossi, I've said this to you before, is my kid, I have a 2-year-old kid. I have no doubt that when he goes to a museum in 10 years from now, he's going to be seeing he's going to be in a virtual helmet, a virtual reality, exploring the early artists that were part of this digital art transformation. And, I think there are some influential artists that are going to be part of that story and journey. And I try to find those and invest in those.
Amazing.
That's awesome. So talk to us about Zed Run, because I know that's how I met you. Yossi was kind enough to introduce us on a call, and you were telling me about your experience with Zed Run.
Sure.
And I was intrigued.
Yep.
I didn't own any horses before I spoke to you.
Yeah.
You were one of the people that inspired me to buy some.
Okay.
Tell us about Zed Run. Tell us about why you like it.
I heard about Zed Run over the years, actually. One of my investors in my company invested in a gaming company called Unicorn. And Unicorn happened to be the pre-seed investor in Zed Run. And there was an announcement about the investment partnership, so I was familiar with this concept. Fast forward about 2 years, and when they moved over to Matic from Ethereum, it kind of really blew open the gameplay. So in the beginning, it was people just buying horses, really, because it was so expensive from a gas fee perspective to put them in a race or to breed them that it really kind of constrained the opportunity for it to really go viral. And when they moved the whole system over to Matic and removed the gas fees, it just blew up. So I was watching right around that time, and I remember I watched a Zed drop, and the Zed horses sold in, I think it was 48 hours, in 2 days. And the next drop a week later sold in 24 hours. The next one sold in 12 hours. And already at this point, I'm like, okay, I'm seeing something that was very similar to the NBA Top Shot journey. Because I was around in the NBA Top Shot days when packs never even sold out, or when a pack would be open for 7 days and we could just go in there and buy 5 or 10 of them. That was the early days. And then fast forward a couple months, and you're waiting online with 400,000 other people to get a pack. So, I started to see the trend that I was seeing with NBA Top Shot. And you're also seeing the Discord have a very similar type of evolution. It started with 500 of us in the Discord talking about Zed Run every day, where anytime someone posted, you almost knew who the person was, to 5,000 people in a few weeks, and then to 50,000 in a few weeks after that, etc. So, the whole thing kind of moved really quickly and spiraled. I got really excited about the idea of, I think there was just so many things going for it. You're talking blockchain, you're talking NFTs, you're talking esports, you're talking gambling, you're talking gaming. I mean, it connects so many of the hot topics that we're talking about on a regular basis. So it was right up my alley, very similar to NBA Top Shot. And the moment that was really transformative, and I compare it to NBA Top Shot a lot because those are 2 of the projects that I really went deep into. Of all the projects I've experienced, those are 2 of my biggest investment positions in NFT assets. When I raced my first horse, and I won a race. Like maybe it was like my third race or fourth race. The feeling of ownership and equity in your horse. Like I've been to horse races. I live in New York. I've been to Belmont. You root for a horse like crazy for 2 minutes. You get drunk. You forget the horse's name 2 minutes after. You never think of that horse again. But with this, I was like, holy shit, I have an asset here. It won another race. I'm like, oh my God, I got to like really figure out what his distances are and like invest in this horse because this $200 Z9, I'm now getting offers of 5 to 10 grand on. So this was like, it's a really, the feeling of ownership was transformative for me. And it was very similar to when I opened my first NBA Top Shot pack. And it took me back to those days when I used to be a basketball card collector. I'd buy a pack and be so excited to see what was in it. You open it up, and if you get a rare card, you can't wait to show all your friends and put it in your collection. And that feeling of ownership, the fact that it was transferable from like that the digital experience could still generate that feeling, the physical and mental feelings that you get from sports card collecting or opening packs as a kid. You know, when I saw that that was possible, but removed all the friction of buying, selling, trading, engaging, all of this stuff, I was like, this is the future. So I felt the same, very similar way about Zed when I raced the Zed Run horse and built that. Since that point, I started buying up horses, building up a pretty robust stable. Probably own about 60 horses now in my stable across, my stable and the stable I share with a buddy. And I've probably purchased almost 200 horses for friends over time. So like, because a lot of my friends weren't crypto people, you know, they didn't really know how to do this stuff, but like there's been, again, another similarity with NBA Top Shot. These have been the Top Shot and Zed Run have been the bridges for the no coiner friends that I have. I've been preaching crypto since 2013. The first jump for them into this space has been Top Shot or Zed. That's where they finally made their entrance. So I've probably purchased, almost 200 horses. I've gotten horses for Wilson Chandler, Michael Carter Williams, who else? Jerry Ferrara. We've been either helping get horses or navigating them. So it's like, there's just been a lot of people that come to us now and are trying to get into the game. And I'm happy, the more people that get in, the better for our investment positions and for the game in general.
Can you share real quick for, let's say, the viewers and listeners who don't really understand what Zed Run is? Give us like a 30 to 60 second synopsis.
Yeah. Sure. So Zed Run is a digital horse racing game where the horses are tokenized on the blockchain so that they can each be owned, and the asset can be owned by an individual, by an investor or a collector or a player, and you can participate in different racing games and racing distances and speeds. And each horse has their own DNA attribute profile and have different rarity levels. So there's different amounts of money that you can spend to enter the game. There's $100 horses and there's $100,000 horses. There's 38,000 Genesis horses that will ever be minted. And then after those 38,000 Genesis horses are released, we're going to see the evolution of the game really take place where breeding becomes the only core component to generate new horses and get access to the game. So my thesis is that Genesis horses will become highly valuable in the future and almost unaffordable if you have a good quality Genesis horse, because they're going to be rare and really hard to acquire, and they're the owners of the bloodline that develops from that horse. So there's a lot of nuances to it, but there's different bloodlines and there's males and females, and they each play different roles. Males, you get paid to put your horse in a stud farm to breed. If you have a female, you pay to breed, but you get to keep the horse. So lots of different strategies. When you put your horse out on the racetrack, horses perform at different distances. There's 1,000-meter races going all the way up to 2,600-meter races. And as a racer, your job is to determine, really, by watching the races and seeing how your horse performs, what distances your horse is really meant to race at. And then hopefully over time you figure out that distance, race them continuously, and hopefully you have a good horse that can win races. And then you can earn money from racing, you can earn money from breeding, you can earn money from trading and selling. So there's a lot of really interesting economy or ecosystems that are developing in and around Zed Run, which I think is really exciting.
So Drew, I want to play the skeptic for a little bit. You're a smart guy. You're invested in 30 companies through your syndicates into tangible businesses that are doing great things, but you've decided to take a percentage of your money and your time and buy 65 horses or 60 horses over the past period of time? Like, what gives you that conviction that this is a better place to put your money than in another company that's coming to you, the next syndicate that's coming to you, that you want to now do this in?
Sure. I mean, well, one thing is there's liquidity. The market is very, very liquid. So that's a big part of investing. You know, NBA Top Shot, you can make big investments because the market is very liquid. Zed Run, same thing. Art, it's a little less liquid. So you really need to like really pick and choose your art, you know, the way you're going to approach art collecting. With some of these other kind of NFT assets, like you can buy, you know, I bought a bunch of like some of the new ones that popped out, the aliens, the Yetis, the etc. I'll buy a couple of those, 2, 3, 4, etc. to get into the community and see what it's all about. But like, you never know, like liquidity just might not be there for some of those. So you get stuck with these assets, prices drop, etc. So, you know, first thing is you're seeing, I think I evaluate NFT investments very similarly to how I would evaluate and diligence a venture investment. But there's just different components to it. I look at the community on Discord. How is it growing? How active is the community? Is the community taking it upon themselves to build and support and grow the ecosystem and provide more value than even the entrepreneurs creating the company ever envisioned for this ecosystem? How is the team behind it? Is the team have the chops to be able to take this to the next level? Do they have resources and capital and the right strategic investors on board to be able to support a longer term vision, not just a drop? So like there was a lot of like diligence components to evaluating why Zed Run, but ultimately I think it was really about like I believe this is going to be the first major digital sport of the metaverse. I think that like my stable is going to be representative of a sports team in the future, like owning a sports team. And if you bought a sports team before sports were cool, you probably did pretty well for yourself. So I'm just thinking about buying a digital sports team before digital sports are cool. Maybe we'll have the same output.
So just remember us when you buy your stadium in Ireland.
Yes, exactly.
And we had you here first.
First, I got to get a track, and then we'll go to stadium.
So to ask, I mean, you kind of answered the question, but if you want to go a little bit deeper, like, where do you see Zed Run, let's call it 2-3 years, and then where do you see it in 10 years?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a televised, globalized event in sports with big tournaments and sponsored contents and sponsored events. I think there's going to be people that make a living by racing and training and breeding horses. I think there's going to be I think the early Genesis horses are going to be unaffordable for the general public, but almost anyone will be able to get in the game through breeding, which is a really powerful concept. I think that there will be. I think that there is going to be, I think there's going to be $1 million horse sales for sure in probably the nearer time than 2 years. So I my thought process is this is going to be, if we think that, however we think that horse racing in the real world, in the physical world, is performing, I think this is going to replicate that and scale beyond it.
So one of my partners who I own a Z1 with, I told him that it's going to be $1 million horse.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of laughed at me.
Sure.
But I really believe that the Z1s are going to be $1 million horses.
Yeah, I think the Z1s, either unraced or the proven winners, are going to be $1 million. Like that's how I think about it as well. I think a losing Z1 will still have a lot of value from a bloodline perspective, but it's going to be a little bit, obviously I don't think it's going to be the $1 million type of horse if it's a losing Z1. But I paid up for a premium proven winner Z1 horse. It was my most expensive NFT investment to date, actually. And I have no regrets. I think it's going to be $1 million plus horse for sure.
So for our listeners that are here now, hearing, $1 million horse coming up, Z1s maybe are quite expensive for them, or there's the Z1, Z10, there's these drops, there's the stuff happening today over the next 5 days with Stella and 10 horses being brought on. How would you advise someone to get into the Zed world today? What strategy should they be thinking about? What should they be buying? How should they be approaching this community?
Yeah, I think your first step is get into the Discord. Start to learn, start to engage with the influencers and people in the community. See if you can find some OGs who will sell you a horse for a decent price, or start to find people that you can, the way I would say it is kind of think about it as a stable strategy. Like if you're building a basketball team, you don't just buy a center, you buy a point guard, a shooting guard, a small forward, power forward, and center. The way I thought about it was building a stable was trying to have different horses for different purposes. So like when I started out by focusing on Genesis unraced Genesis horses, because I felt that those are going to hold value and appreciate value in a very unique way over time. Then after I got through building up what I felt was a good position in the unraced Genesis, I went to proven raced winners. That was my next focus, because every one of these horses that you buy unraced, whether it's a bred horse or an unbred horse, can either be a superstar or a complete dud. And in this game is always going to be about racing at the core foundation of it. It's a horse racing game. And as sponsors come into the play and prize pools start to grow, you can see that racing will become more and more valuable. I mean, there's races where you can enter for $500 right now and walk away with $5,000 if you win the race. So like there's some real value there, and I think it's just scratching the surface. So I started with unraced, then I moved to proven race winners. I'm going to pay up a premium for the proven race winners. And then the next thing I focused on was coats. So I focused on rare coats and super rare coats, because I felt that they were going to have the most breeding value. Because, let's say you're going to the stud farm and you have a certain color horse and you want to have the chance of breeding a rare coat, you're going to probably go and breed with the rare or super rare coats. So that was my next phase. And along the way, I'd buy some like low-end Z9, Z10, breed some of my own horses, and I'd throw them out there and take some swings so that I could really learn. So I also recommend, like, when you're starting out, whether you make a big investment or a small investment, in terms of that's obviously different for everybody. But I definitely say that, like, buy a couple horses on the lower end, that are unraced potentially, whether they're bred or unbred, doesn't even matter, and try to get a feel for understanding the game mechanics. I got lucky. I got a Z9 horse, $200, that now has like an 18% win rate and is really, really doing well. Is a profitable horse in terms of racing, but not only that, I could sell him for a few Ethereum right now, which is wild, for a $200 horse. So like when I talk to the founders, and when I got into Zed, I became enamored with it. So I was up till 3 a.m. every night talking to the founders, because they were in Australia. And Australia has the most backwards fucking clock in the world. So it's ridiculous. So anyway, you're waiting up till 3 a.m. to have a chat with people. But the reality is, like, they said something that really kind of resonated with me, was like, we want people that enter the game at any point in the future to be able to have just as much of a shot to have a winning horse. And that's why, like, you might get a Z212 that was bred 18 times at, like, and as multiple generations away from its genesis, that just happens to be a winner. And that's a really cool concept to be able to, like, always have that as part of the game.
So what you're basically saying is that Yossi should buy a horse, at least a few horses.
You don't have a horse yet?
I haven't bought one.
What?
Cat's out of the bag.
Yeah, I thought you got a horse already. Yeah, I would definitely get a horse. For sure. I would. I also bought one of the, and I plan. I'm hoping to get one of the Stella Artois horses. And keep in mind, just to make it clear, they're not a Stella Artois. Stella Artois. How do I pronounce it? Artois.
Stella Artois. Yeah.
Artois. Horses. It's not the horse. You're getting the skin. You're getting a coat. So it's basically like something you could put on a horse. You could put it on any horse, just to make that clear for people, because some people don't fully understand that. They think they're getting a horse that is actually, the horse is branded by Sotheby, but it's really the skin. So I bought the Preakness. I bought one of the Preakness horses and skin, like this skin plus horse in that sponsor drop. I'd like to get one for Stella as well, and try to start to build up my skin collection as well. I think there'll be more in the future, and I think they're going to be really exciting, and it's really cool. Listen, I'm excited for tracks to get NFT'd and released, and how we can monetize those. Like, there's a world here being developed, and I think that's why I really got into Zed, is that the vision of the founders was way beyond a game. It was way beyond sports betting or blockchain or NFTs. Like, they see this as a world. And like, when you start to see this as a world, you start to think about this in a way that's like just much more like it's more holistic in terms of like, how am I going to create income streams for people? How am I going to create opportunities of work? How am I going to create community? And like, community needs to be incentivized. And like, how do you monetize a community and help them to be able to generate some kind of income for themselves? And they're just thinking about it the right way. And they're getting involved in the right projects, doing partnerships with the right teams and the right brands. So I'm obviously very bullish.
And one thing I think is interesting is that they're combining, skins right? The Fortnite model, which we obviously know works really well in all our sports car collectors. The limited, you know, 1 of 15 or whatever it is, where we know in sports cards, that's where the money is, right? That's where the value is because it's limited. It's, you know, best of the best. And
all NFTs, like when you're investing in NFTs, to me, the thing inherent, like, and this is actually part of my problem with some of these NFT drops lately, is there's just too many, like 10,000 freaking Yetis. It's like, all right, well, if 10% of the people want to sell it immediately, you're flooded. You're flooded already with 1,000 horses to overcome. I mean, Yetis to overcome. So it's like, there's just like, you know, at the end of the day, the foundation of the blockchain and what it brings to the internet is scarcity. So I think that needs to be an inherent component to it. And I think they did a great job with creating like Genesis horses as the scarce component, Z1s through 4 as even extra scarce, but then also creating assets that are not meant to be as scarce, but are allowed that get people into the game. So like if you can like, that's what basketball card collecting is also. No, there's one out of every 30 people get a Michael Jordan rookie. The dream is alive that you get one, but most people have shit cards. That's the reality of it. Not every card has to be worth $1 million.
How much time are you spending on your Zed stable a week?
Very minimal. You know, I'll every once in a while I'll like I go in through ebbs and flows. So like my like strategy, and I'll, you know, keep this DL everybody. But one of my strategies on the racing side is after big drops and everybody has no idea how their horses perform, I put my horses that I know are good to work. And I'll just make them like race the distances that I know they're good at because they got a bunch of noobs running around testing out their horses and build up their records. So that's like one of the times where I really put in work there. And when I say put in work, I throw them in a race. Like I press 2 buttons. And like most of the time I do it at night before I go to sleep so I can wake up in the next morning and watch the replays. So like, and so like to me, it's really not much work at all. The work when it's work is like when I'm like, hey, this guy needs 10 horses and I got to go find them from the community and I got to go reach out to the community and help them buy some horses. That's when I put in more time and work. But I find that to be an investment in the community and the ecosystem. So to me, it's worth it.
I love that. I press 2 buttons and I make money.
Yeah, I mean, I won't make money or spend money. Either way, you know, I'm either going to win a race or lose a race. But that's my participation in managing a stable. Like I spend a couple minutes, you know, here and there.
And we do have one question from the audience. What do you think is the best strategy? Racing, breeding, or holding?
Again, this kind of goes back to what I believe. Okay, let me take a step back there. I think racing is the best strategy if I had to choose, because I think that racing is the core foundation of the game. And that's how if you build up if you have a quality horse that's a good racer, it's going to become more valuable to breed, more valuable to race, and more valuable to sell. So racing is number one. But I have, of my 60 horses, I'd say I probably have a 50% split of unraced Genesis horses to raced and bred horses. I have about 10% of my horses are bred. You know, I'd say about 30 to 40% are, you know, raced, and I'd say 50% are unraced bred. So like, again, I think it's all about creating a complete team, if you will. I look at my stable as almost a team.
Yeah, and I think the first time we spoke, something you said stuck with me. Accumulation is the game, right? You wanna get as many as you can.
Totally. This is like same thing for Top Shot. It was like once you get conviction and you're early and you know you're early, like it's not there's like throw everything out the window and go buy good shit. You know what I mean? Like that's the reality. Like get your Top Shot moments, get your Zed Run horses. You know, like.
But do you think we're still there? You think we're still someone listening to this today gets conviction, says, "Hold on, this is interesting. I actually think this is something." You think we're still at that stage where we're early and they should double down and bet the house on horses?
I don't think we've scratched the surface of Zed Run until we find ourselves engaging and socializing in virtual worlds in the metaverse, and that's when we're going to see this whole thing take off to another stratosphere. So to me, we're in the speculation phase, like we were in crypto. Like I say this, I talk about this a lot. You know, NFTs are following a similar trajectory to what I saw with crypto. You know, 2013 to 2018 was one big speculation period Nobody built shit. It was just a bunch of white papers and speculation of like what's going to become in the future. The ICO bubble was the peak of that. It popped, and then we saw a winter for 18 months. The shit companies died, the good companies built, and out of that came DeFi. And decentralized finance brought utility to all the crypto that we were betting on and speculating on, or at least the good ones, and took it to an entirely another stratosphere of value. NFTs, we're in the speculation phase right now. And like the way I speculate and the way I invest in NFTs is I try to find the NFTs that'll stand the test of time, that will survive a winter. The winter will come, in no doubt. And after this winter, what will get us out of the winter and bring this entire NFT asset class to an entirely new investment stratosphere is the metaverse. And hopefully it's through their hat in the ring, built an amazing VR helmet that we all want to spend our time in. We start to socialize, go to sit front row at games, build galleries, build homes, build storefronts, etc. in these virtual worlds. And the assets of those virtual worlds are going to be NFTs. The currencies of those virtual worlds are going to be crypto. And get cool shit that makes money there.
And race our horses there.
Race your ponies there.
So we love everything we're hearing. Before we go, one last question. What other NFTs are you bullish on? What else are you seeing that you like?
Well, so I'm an OG CryptoPunk guy. I think that's going to have a legacy that lasts beyond the test of time because of its historical value. So it'll have its roller coasters of value, but I think I think owning a CryptoPunk in the future is going to be like having a Harvard degree in the metaverse. There's only going to be two kinds of people that own a CryptoPunk: OG crypto like fanatics, or whales. That is it. No one else will ever own a CryptoPunk other than those two types of people. And if you want to engage with those type of people, that's a great kind of community to support, to engage with and participate in and kind of target. Outside of that, I think Bored Apes is wildly interesting. I don't usually get into those types of I don't usually go in deep on those types of I find they're all to be knockoffs of CryptoPunks, almost every one of these things that I see every day. So I don't get super excited about them. I'll buy one, I'll buy two just to experience and figure out it and see if there's something more here. And there's something more to Bored Apes. Maybe it's the fact that it was called a club and that might have been just it. But the community took hold of it and have taken it to a stratosphere that the founders and creators never could have imagined. Now there's going to be a point where we're going to have to say, when is the team going to step up and start to contribute to this community itself and build something that takes this to another level? And that's where you start to say, okay, well, the community is only going to take us so far. You want to see a team behind the project that's also going to support and drive and create a roadmap of utility and projects and creation. So I hope to see more from them, the team, and hope to see them push this ball forward.
Looks like we may have lost him.
Am I lost?
No, you're back. You're back.
Sorry about that. So I'd like to see more from the Bored Ape team, but the community is unrivaled, and I think that's a really good investment opportunity. I think they are coming to a place where I can start to see them becoming part of the narrative of the long, in 5 to 10 years from now, when we look back at these pivotal projects, Top Shot bridged the gap for the sports world to get into the sports world to get into the NFT community. Zed Run is the first digital sport of the metaverse. Fuocious and Hackatow are artists that are now gone to Christie's that are the kind of artists that when you see them, you don't need to have their name signed on it. You know their style. And you're going to be that is a pioneering style of the digital art revolution. And that is going to be some shit where those are going to be the artists that you're going to tell your stories about. Hey, I met or bought or whatever, or I was in a Discord talking with Picasso of the digital art revolution, and that's a powerful, powerful concept. So I like top tier artists that I think are going to stand the test of time. I and there's probably 5 to 10 that I can think of that are in that world. But Fuocious and Hackatow are always the first names that come to mind for me because I just think their styles are so native to digital art that it's almost a breed of in itself. And then I think that I'm not a big celebrity dropper. I don't see Gronk's drop going to be something that stands the test of time. I just don't. I'm rooting for the Gary Vee project. I just think he's doing a great job for the community. I don't know yet where it'll stand, but I'm rooting for him. These other ones, like I bought a few aliens. I bought a few of the Yetis. Yetis, I'm like already on. I'm hoping they come up with something big to make a move, or I think it could be a dud. If they don't come out with something that's like interesting from a utility perspective and a project perspective, then I think that it's going to flop. I mean, the art is not strong enough. The community is not unique enough. So the utility is going to be what sets them apart. And if they don't come out with something soon, it could just be the end of that one. But we'll see. Hopefully either the community or the team steps up and gives it life that we don't see yet today. So I'd say like Punks, Apes, Top Shot, Zed, some of the art from Super Rare and Nifty specifically to artists that I really appreciate. And then virtual land, real estate. I think that's going to be the next frontier. So I just started getting into the virtual real estate game. We bought something, we had about 8 investors come together, and we bought what we call Sandbox Hill Road, which is like a play off Sand Hill Road, which is like the big venture capital street in Silicon Valley. And we bought this like little 8 plots of 1x1 land right near the Bored Ape Yacht Club, right next to a couple other really cool projects like Ghosts, etc. And we're going to I'm starting to learn about what we can build there, what we can develop. I have this idea in my head to like build a university, like a metaverse university where you can like learn, build, work, play, party, socialize, like live like somewhere in Sandbox. So that's something I've been playing around with and noodling. So just kind of seeing what's out there.
I love it. And when you said in the beginning how you go into these, you start off light and then you go deep. Mm-hmm. Just what does that mean? Like to end off someone looking at all these communities, how do you start light and then go deep? People think that if they don't get the initial drop and they don't buy in at the first, release of this, they've lost out and they can't go, or now it's too late or anything like that. How do you apply that strategy today?
So yeah, I mean, like I'll give you the perfect example for Bored Apes. I didn't buy the drop. So I missed the drop on Bored Apes because it was one of those projects where I hesitated and said, you know what, like this is another CryptoPunk knockoff. And then there was 2 things that got me that triggered me to jump in. One was the fact that they were promoting the whole idea that we have commercial rights to the Bored Ape. And that only means so much. But when you put that in unison with a community that wants to build and nurture and create and was so inspired to do shit with commercial rights, well, then you're saying like, you know what, like I'm not just betting on this team. I could be betting on anybody to be able to take this thing to the next level. So that was when I jumped in. I bought my first couple for about 0.2. And then I waited a little bit and I started to follow and I started to look at, what apes I thought specifically could be more interesting. And I bought 2 or 3 of the, what's it called? It's the zombie apes. Because I just found those to be really appealing and interesting and having a story behind themselves in and of itself. And, I bought those for about 1 ETH each. And now I think the floor of zombies is about, maybe 2.5 to 3 Ethereum. And like, I guess my thought process on this whole project is I think it could reach value of CryptoPunks. But the whole point of it is like the going light to me is you need to get your hands dirty. Like to understand this space, you can't just watch it. You got to get your hands dirty. So what that means is buy one of the NFTs, spend a little bit, just you don't have to go crazy. Try to buy something for a little amount of capital, get yourself in the game, get in the Discord, talk to influencers, see what people are doing, what they're saying, start to learn the lingo, throw it on your Twitter, get excited about it, talk about it, and then you'll find out if you think it has legs. And then from there, build up your position. Because if you think it has legs, then build up your position. I usually will try to buy my recent strategy, and again, this could fall flat on its face, has been to buy 2 or 3 of an NFT when I start now, because one, I find myself, I'm too much of a collector, I can't get rid of it. So what I've been doing now is getting 2 or 3, try to flip one when I see the market really at a really good like excitement peak. That will then bring my cost average down for the other 2. And then I decide what I want to do with those. Hold them long. I'm usually a longer. I try to invest in projects that I think have long-term potential. So I take long-term positions. But like, I sold I bought a bunch of those those NFTs, the
bonsais.
bonsais. I bought a few of those because I thought the project was interesting. I thought the team behind it did the best drop I've seen. The art was cool, and I thought they produced great assets and like the AR components. I just thought they executed beautifully. So I bought a few of those. So out of I think I ended up buying 10 of those actually, because they were pretty cheap. I sold 3 of them that got my entire, one of them was like a rarer one, sold 3 of them that got my entire initial investment back, and I have 7 at a cost of 0, and I can figure out what I want to do with them from here.
Wow. So everybody that's watching this right now, head is spinning. Where do I go? Where do I put my money in? But I mean, I think my biggest takeaway from here, from this conversation, and once again, Drew, we appreciate you coming on,
Gotcha.
is this is a long-term game, right? This is not something that you know, that's going to go away. This is something that's going to be here for a long term. And if you're a believer in that, you could potentially put yourself in a position to come out on top.
Which is why I tell people not to overvalue or overweigh. Like the Zed drop was a total bust. We all know that. It was a shit drop. It was a total bust. And it was unfortunate because like we just got out of NFT, the crypto events in Miami. Zed was one of the top conversations. So many new people were about to experience Zed for the first time, and that was their first experience, which really sucks. That being said, drops are not core to the functions of Zed Run. They're going to be done with drops forever in a couple weeks, and that'll be that. Like NBA Top Shot had to nail drops because packs are the essential way that you're engaging with NBA Top Shot. Zed Run is going to be done with drops very soon. The reality is these are startups. These are fucking early stage startups, and they need time. Like I can't even fathom how like much pressure it must be to be this public. You're basically a publicly traded company from like your first 3 weeks in business, and
you're a startup.
You're a startup. Like no one is taking that into consideration. So there's like a level of empathy that completely goes out the window in the space. But most startups that I've ever worked on don't become valuable till year 2, 3, or 4. So like, we're looking at every single project we're talking about is in year 1, maybe year 1.5. So like, listen, like Zed Run, this is also not an overnight success. This is a company that's been building for 3 years. So like that's a competitive advantage of itself. Same with Dapper Labs, the team behind NBA Top Shot. So, they're obviously working on this and then really investing the time and effort. But I just tell people try not to panic at the first sign of, oh man, there was a bug, or oh man, the community's flipping their feeling on it. Like try to stay the course. If your thesis on investing in a certain asset is that you believe that this is going to have value, that the team is good, the game is good, there's going to be an appreciation, there's going to be utility in the future, and the price is changing because people are panicking, your thesis hasn't changed. Nothing about my thesis has changed for Zed Run because their drop didn't work well. My thesis is exactly the way it was when I invested in it originally. So unless something came out where the CEO quit and the leadership changed, or the team stops getting support and no one's managing the Discord, like those are monumental shifts where you say, pull this back. The Epimon, controversy, like that's the kind of thing where you're like, shit, I gotta get the hell out of this hellhole. Now, granted, hopefully the community will save it, but like, when the whole team takes off and the Discord's a mayhem, you're like, all right, time to unload, get out of here. But that's not happening in these good projects right now.
Awesome.
Drew, we wanted to have a 30-minute show. We're now at minute 58. So loving the wisdom that you've shared. If people want to get a hold of you or find out more about the stuff that you're doing, how can they keep in touch?
Yeah, guys, I'm on Twitter at DrewAustin. You're probably going to find me either at Drew's Ventures or at DrewAustin. If you want to join the syndicate, it's redbeard.ventures. If you're on AngelList, super easy. If you're on AngelList, you can start investing and building up a venture capital portfolio right on there and start investing in blockchain companies on the equity side and on the token side. And it's a really amazing time to be an angel investor because there's more access to great deals than ever before. So I think that's a really powerful thing. So redbeard.ventures will take you to the AngelList Syndicate, and then you'll start getting access to all the companies I'm investing in and decide if you want to invest in them as well.
Amazing. And if you need to get a horse and you can't navigate the world, Drew can also hook you up with some stables, seeing that he's done 200 of those before. Yeah. So he's the man to speak to get yourself a horse. Drew, thank you very much. Love having you on the show. Hopefully we'll bring you back on when there's new news to talk about.
Anytime,
thank you.
Have a good one.
No doubt, guys.
Your time, Drew. Thank you. Wow. That's
That was
some
great.
knowledge drops right there. I loved every minute of it. And a part of me was like, you know, should we keep it a shorter show? But listen, we got an engaging crowd. People are asking questions. I'm learning a lot. I know your mind is like, I need a horse. I need a horse. I need a horse. So I'm like, let's keep it going.
I've been saying I need a horse for the past 3-4 months.
We're early, man.
At some point,
We're
I got to
early.
pull the trigger. At some point, I got to pull the trigger. Amazing.
Yeah, man.
Well, great
Good
show.
stuff.
I hope you all learned a lot, and we will see you next week to cover the world of NFTs, collectibles, and everything in between. Have a good week, my friends.
Thanks for joining, and don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. Give us a like, share with your friends, and we'll see you guys next week. Thank you, guys.
Howdy.